Is it straight? Okay. Oh, I'm really nervous. Okay, bye. I hate it. Really great if I prepared what I was gonna say. Ooh, okay. Welcome back to my channel. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. No. I feel like you can hear me on the other side of the door. Yeah, but you are though. You better. Okay, I love you. Okay, hello, and welcome to whatever this is. Here I am, welcome to it. This is super weird for me, so weird. I'm really having to sort of fight my internal cringe right now, but no, we've got it. So yeah, welcome to whatever this is. I haven't decided on a name yet. I think we'll get to that eventually. I don't know. I'm sure it'll just be my name. That seems good for simplicity's sake. Yeah, and what do I want to do on this channel? I would love to talk about knitting primarily. I have been knitting for 2 years now. I think more than 2 years. I started in this January of 2022. And I've been knitting pretty avidly since then. So yeah, and I have no one really in my life to talk about it. Today I would love to go through a couple of things that I've knitted recently, a couple of things that I'm currently knitting, and then some things that I'd like to cast on in future. I sound like the Creator Bear. I feel like I've just stolen her mannerisms. No, I would go through some things that I finished knitting recently and that are off the needles. I'd love to talk through some of the things that are on my needles and that I'd love to finish up soon. And then I do have a couple of swatches at the end, as well as some things, some yarn that I've bought recently that I'd love to show you all. So that would be great. Get straight into it. My first finished piece, I don't know if you can see this here. This is the Audrey top by Petite Knit. Course. This is something that I finished really quickly. So this took like 5 days maybe. I casted it on my way to Stockholm. I was going to see, of course, I was going to go see Taylor Swift and Paramore at the Eras tour, because who isn't? And we managed to get tickets for Stockholm, so we went to Stockholm and I casted this on the way there. The reason I casted it on is because I had one skein of a hand-dyed yarn. I don't usually buy hand-dyed yarns, but I've started doing it recently when I've been traveling and it's been quite fun. I don't love the idea of making like accessories or things like that with one skein. Like I've made like wallets before, or you know, like I think maybe like a cute like skinny scarf would be cute, but I do really love putting things into garments. So yeah, I wanted to finish up a whole skein and get something wearable out of it. And I did, and I'm pretty happy. So first the yarn, this is Milky Depths. Yeah, this is Milky Depths something sock. This is Milky Depths Deep Sock. Okay, this is Milky Depths Deep Sock. Which I bought in Nitty City in New York. I was there recently. I was in the US for work and we hopped over from San Francisco to New York on the way back because it's easier to get there. Yeah, so I was in Nitty City and I picked up a skein of this. This is the colour, I think, number 9, as in like, I think it's literally called number 9, NO.9, and not like just the number 9. And to get gauge for the Audrey top, because this was a fingering weight sock yarn, it was quite like it was like a light fingering. It seemed quite light, and there was only like 390 meters, it said in the skein. So it was quite a small skein for 100 grams. And to get gauge for the Audrey top, which is a DK, I held it with a strand of 100% alpaca. It's actually a mix of two. It was leftovers of Isager, 100% alpaca, the ep.1, there we go. And then Filcolana alva. I had leftovers of the Isager from when I held it as like a second strand for a cardigan that I was making. And I used 3 balls and I had sort of half a ball. And then I ran out of that, so I had to go out and buy, I actually bought some when I was in Stockholm, the alva, which is basically identical in a black colour, so it's completely indistinguishable. And it makes this quite sort of bouncy, really stretchy fabric on 4mm needles. I think I used 4mm. And yeah, this is a summer garment with 100% alpaca. Not the smartest, but I think for the climate that I live in Ireland, where our summers are very brief and not very sunny, I think this will be absolutely fine. And I'll probably wear it more as a like going out piece or like out for dinner kind of thing, rather than something that's like really for the very, very hot weather. And yeah, the result is really lovely. It's sort of like subtly variegated, and then the black yarn doesn't really like add or take away anything. It's just kind of to bulk it out. It maybe dilutes the variegation like a tiny bit, but nothing crazy. And then the fit, so I made the size, I think this is the right way around, yeah it is. I made the size medium, which I think was maybe a bit small for my bust size, but my gauge swatch was a couple of stitches bigger. Always get that wrong the way around. It was a couple of stitches bigger, so I figured that it would be okay. And I also thought that with the superwash yarn and the open gauge it would be quite stretchy, and it was. I did convert the pattern, so the pattern is bottom up, and I converted it to top down because I had one skein of 390 meters, and I think my size calls for like 450 at least, maybe even more in the 500 range. So I wanted to get every bit of the deep sock out of this, and yeah, so I converted it to top down. So I knitted, what did I do? I knit the back panel first, put that on hold, then I knit the front panel, and then, you know, as you would like my favorite things, knitwear camisole or something like that, and then just reversed all of the instructions basically, and then knitted until I ran out of yarn. And I did, I think in the end I did, so I think the pattern says just to sort of cast on with like a long tail cast on and not do any bind offs, but I did actually do an I-cord bind off because I found it was rolling quite a bit, and because I was limited on fabric or on yarn, I didn't want to sort of it to roll any of the length that I already had. So I did an I-cord bind off on the bottom, and I was like, I think the piece of yarn that was left was like this long and I do actually have a tiny bit of my swatch left, so it wasn't the end of the world if I ran out completely, but I did use some of the swatch. And yeah, it got a really on. And another modification that I made is that I did do an I-cord finishing on the top as well, because it was also kind of rolling there and I didn't love the finish on it. I think as well in the pattern, if you're doing it bottom up, then you would bind off in pattern, or you would sort of bind off in a pretty bind off, but because it was the long tail cast on, I don't love the way the long tail cast on looks, so I just did an I-cord finishing here, which probably upped my yarn requirements just a tiny bit, but I think it was worth it. And it was like a 2-stitch I-cord, so really, really tiny, just something to sort of give it stability. Yeah, and I think it was worth it. And I made everything else to pattern. I think maybe the straps are a tiny bit longer because they just felt super short as described in the pattern, but everything else was, yeah, as described. And I'm super happy with it. The fit's great. It's not too tight. I'd seen on the Ravelry pages as well, a couple of people had said that it was quite boxy, it was quite wide, so I wasn't too concerned about doing a size down. And it is like, it doesn't really touch my body, like it's not super tight or anything, and it doesn't have negative ease, it definitely has positive ease. Yeah, and it's just about long enough. So when it's on, So it's about here. It just about reaches like my belt, and then I can tuck it in and I don't have any other skin showing. So yeah, really pleased with that. You know, I think I would do something similar in future with one skein of sock yarn, of like hand-dyed sock yarn. I would love to do sort of like a really cute little garment like this, sort of bulk it up to a DK to get most of the yardage out of it. Yeah, be able to make something wearable, a bit short, but wearable. Oh yeah, and then it was a super quick knit. So I casted it on in Stockholm. I was there for about 3 days. I did loads of knitting on the plane, but then none at all whilst we were there. And then more knitting on the way back on the plane. And then I was like super obsessed with it for a couple of days afterwards. And then I think within a week I'd bound it off. So like active knitting, I think probably about 5 days. And if you had like a deadline or something, you could definitely get through it really, really quickly. So yeah, it was a cute little project. Super pleased with it. Okay. Oh yeah, and then I didn't mention, so today had to wear a hand knit for a knitting podcast. What is this? This is a sort of like a summer raglan t-shirt. You would probably think maybe it's the Tolster if it's a raglan, but I think I vaguely recall that I actually made this or started making this before the Tolster came out. If the Tolster came out last year in the summer, then I think Rebecca Chloe had been promising to sort of put that out around for a while since then, but then she actually put it out in the summer. I don't know. Anyway, this is the cherry genser from the Milky, butchering of that pronunciation, the Soft for Women Sandnes Garn booklet that everyone and their mother has. In that there's the cherry genser, which is originally just a sweater. I think it's like DK weight. Trying to remember anything about this t-shirt now because I made it last year and I really don't remember. And I just modified it for it to be a t-shirt and B like a plant-based yarn. And then what other modifications did I do? I think so it has folded hems, at least in the sleeves, but I'm not sure that it does in everywhere else. So I just made folded hems everywhere. I'd have to look back at the pattern again. I don't really know. But yeah, I just wanted a raglan. I wanted something really simple with like quite a close neckline, and I wanted a pattern that I already had. I'd bought some drop spell, which is what this is made out of, when they were having that summer sale where all of their summer yarn was discounted, and I'd bought a bunch of drop spell because I was in my summer knitting phase. And yeah, I just wanted like a really simple black t-shirt, and this is essentially what it is, but with some elevated details. So the fold over hems here, the fold over hems there, and then I think on the neck I may have cast on fewer stitches. I think it's one of those ones where you just cast on directly and then do the ribbing and then go straight into the raglan, so super simple. You don't have to pick up or anything. And I did, this was definitely my first, you can't really see it underneath all the jewellery, but this was my first, what's it called? Tubular cast on? No. Ribbed cast on? No, I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. But my first sort of, I use a lot of long tail cast on, and I just use that as default for everything. And so yeah, this is my first time doing a sort of 1x1 rib cast on, and I did it on a ferry in Greece, and it was not ideal because I didn't have access to the internet, I think, because we were in the middle of the sea, and so I was like following like an online tutorial from pictures. Yeah, anyway, so I made this about a year ago, and to be honest, I think I finished it and then put it away, and didn't really wear it much at all because I finished it at the end of the summer last year. And again, if you know anything about summers in Ireland, we really did not get a chance like in August last year to wear anything hot, and I keep knitting for the summer, but I find that I actually don't really have a summer here, so it's good. I get use of my jumpers all year round, but not that great for summer knits. Okay, so moving on to another thing that I finished recently. It's partially finished in that I haven't blocked it, And it's also cables, so that's not going to be great to show you. But I have here, hopefully you can see this, my favorite things knitwear sweater number 15, with quite a few modifications. Or I say quite a few, I mean a few modifications, not too many. I actually never thought I'd knit this. I saw it back when it came out, and I saw the hype around it, and I saw everyone knit it, and I was like, I have no interest in a cable jumper, like I don't find it interesting. But then I bought this yarn, which is, what is it? It's the woolly knit British 4-ply wool in the colour Wimbledon green, which I held double, and then I held with a strand of drops kid silk in the shade parrot green. I'm usually quite obsessive about the colour numbers, but I don't remember. I think maybe it's like 48 or something. It's one of their newer colours that I think is a pretty good dupe of the juicy green Tilia, Filcolana Tilia, I think. Or, you know, those like really super saturated greens that are all the rage at the moment. Or were all of the rage, I don't know. Who knows what's of the rage. Yeah, so it's 2 strands of the woolly knit and the drops kid silk held together, and I knew I wanted to use those together, and I had made a swatch. I made a swatch for the Ingrid sweater. I made a swatch for, I was going to make like a super plain, just like green bright sweater, all stockinette, and I was going to do some sort of like elevated details, so like a fold over hem, just like this one with the, where it's sort of knitted down on the outside. But I was going to do that stockinette, and then I was going to do like a sort of split hem but all in stockinette, so using not short rows, just it would just be split hem all stockinette, and then finish it with an I-cord bind off. And I think Spectacle Strick did that in one of her sweaters, and I was just going to sort of steal a bunch of like really elevated details and just put it into one sweater. But in the end, I don't know why I'm saying sweater, jumper. In the end, I ended up with this because I don't know, I think, like, what is it? Is it that recency bias or that sort of familiarity bias where you just see something over and over and over again and then you fall in love with it? Yeah, I just got it into my head that like actually the cable and the repetitive cable would be super nice and quite like totem-like, kind of sort of sculptural, like a bit high fashion in a sort of bright colour like this. And yeah, so I went for it. I swatched, I think I re-swatched after the Ingrid with this. It worked out fine. So this is 2 strands of fingering plus a mohair, so like a DK plus a lace, so like sort of an Aran worsted kind of weight, which is completely off gauge for the sweater number 15. I think the sweater number 15 is a fingering and a lace, but that suited me fine because I don't like knitting a lot of DK. I definitely like going up a size, yeah, and I wanted that thickness, and I think I just quite like the sort of weight of, and a lot of the jumpers that I knit are around like the 5mm, 5.5mm range. So yeah, so, and what I did instead is that usually I'd be like maybe like a size M or L based on my bust circumference. And a lot of positive E's. I love positive E's. So it would have been, yeah, like a size M or L on the original gauge, but I just calculated, I sort of calculated what the stitch counts would be if I were to knit on gauge, or if I were to sort of knit the same circumference with the gauge that I had. And then that ended up being a size extra small, so it was great. I just had to knit the smallest size, and it always makes you feel like it's like really rewarding when you just see like the smallest number on the chart, and you don't have to like keep going. Like I find that always feels super nice. You know, when it says like, oh, for sizes like medium to large, like you do it like 10, 15 times, and you're like, no, I don't have to do that. I can just stop at the first one. It made for a nice change anyway. So yeah, and I did hesitate because my favorite things knitwear was releasing the sweater number 36 at the time, which if you've seen them, they're super similar. They're both all over cable in the same direction, sweaters. She did make a post that it was quite helpful that sort of showed you the differences between the two sweaters in terms of like, you know, the construction and a bunch of different things about it. But like if you're just glancing at them, they look almost identical. And the sweater number 36 or whatever it is, it has almost exactly this gauge, so it would have been more perfect for my plans. And it had already come out by that point. I think it was like maybe a couple of days old by the time I cast this on. So yeah, I could have gone for that one, but I think what I really loved about the sweater number 15 is just sort of this, I don't know if you can see that, you probably see it better on actual pattern photos, but the shoulder detail and the increases along the shoulder, and then also the increases along the sleeves here. I just think they're so neat and they're so beautiful, and I really, really liked those details, and also the way that the cables grow out of this cable on the side on the sleeve. And I liked those a lot better than the kind of saddle shoulder. I felt that looked quite, like, I don't know, like quite masculine. There was something just like not very feminine about it, which I don't usually mind, but yeah, I just think this one was better designed aesthetically, and it just looks, it was really fun to work up. Now the changes that I made, I say I only made a couple. I did change the entire gauge, so that's one thing. The other thing is that the collar, I did all the same, but instead of binding off on the inside, actually I'm trying to remember, does she do a folded collar? Is that what's written in the pattern? I'm not sure. I seem to remember it was quite like a minimalist pattern, in that like the instructions were pretty like, oh, these are the stitch counts and then work it out. Which, you know, I think my favorite thing's knitwear, she sort of varies between like semi-detailed, pretty good for a beginner, to sort of more hands-free. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it was a double collar as written, but anyway, I did the regular double collar, double folded collar, but then I turned it round and bound it off on the outside rather than the inside, because I actually really like this sort of like braid detail that happens when you do it. It's kind of fiddly in that like you definitely can't get it wrong because it's on the outside, so it really has to be quite neat, and yeah, you have to like make sure that you're picking up exactly where you started off and like follow the lines of the column. But I actually quite like the way it sort of like demarcates it from the rest of the sweater. And yeah, it just looks quite like clean. I really quite like it. And I know that on the sole top, I've actually knitted that before, the sole top by Rose Knitwear, somewhere around here, hopefully I'll put a picture. She uses the same technique, and that's kind of the instructions that I followed, except that one's stockinette. But I just did it in rib, and it has the same effect, and I really, really like it. And then another change that I made was the sleeves. So in the pattern, they're just sort of straight cut sleeves, and that's fine, and I don't mind that, but I was playing extreme yarn chicken, like really, really extreme. I have somewhere, I have like the remnants, I don't know where they are, but they were just like literally like, I have like a tiny little ball, and that's from the entire 500 gram cone of woolly knit. So okay, so for reference, this is another cone of the woolly knit, the 500 gram British wool 4-ply, and I think this is slightly less than 500 grams just because I've skeined off or like caked off some of it, but yeah, it's massive, and you would think, and I think a lot of people have said in various YouTube places that, you know, you can hold it double and you can make a full sweater, and you can, but there's limits. Like it doesn't go quite as far, so you can't make a massively oversized sweater in a size M or L at this gauge that's cabled, which eats up a lot of yarn, and then have loads left over. Like that's the limit. So yeah, I literally had like the tiniest bit left, and I was really, really worried, and it's still a bit short, I think. So yeah, so that was another reason why I didn't want to do the straight across sleeves, because by decreasing it meant that I could save a bit of yarn. And then also the second thing was that I think, like, I never used to think that I had preferences about sweater or like jumper shapes, but it turns out I do. You start knitting, you find out these things. Like, I don't mind a straight across sleeve, and I think it can look quite dramatic, especially if there's a lot of positive ease, but it really gets in the way, and I find like I have to roll them up quite a few times if I'm like doing the washing up or doing anything manual, using a drill. Like, a lot of time I just have these like big floaty sleeves around. It's quite dangerous. And I do just kind of like a traditional decreased sleeve. I just think it looks really nice and traditional, and quite flattering, and I really, really love like when the arm side is quite long and tall, so you have like almost like a bit of bulk here, like a little pot belly for your sleeve, and then it goes into decreases, and then tapers out to quite a skinny cuff. I really like that look. I did that on another jumper a while back, where I probably made the body way too wide, and then had sort of really deep armholes, and so had quite a lot of fabric in the armholes, and then decreased quite quickly to sort of have like almost like a cone shape, and I just think it looks really flattering. So how did I do it? What did I do? So I kind of learned from, I was really worried about trying to figure out how the sweater worked, but it's actually quite easy, in terms of like the increases and the decreases across the cable and keeping that in pattern. So because on the shoulder you increase around this cable, and you sort of increase, or I think it's actually more representative. Yeah, it might be the same thing. I think it's the same thing. So you increase out of the cable, and you do it sort of in blocks of 2, or you do it quite rapidly. So you like increase, run round, and then the next round you knit normally, and then you increase the second round, and you just kind of do it on the same side. I just did the same thing from the armpit, so like really from the beginning around on the sleeve. It's going to be impossible to show. It's not going to want to behave, certainly since it's not blocked, but I just have this like one central cable sort of running up here, and I knit normally for a while, so I think I knit normally for like 3 cables of length, and then I decreased rapidly, so I think every other row I decreased on each side, so that the cable sort of just like blends into that one, and then I did that twice. I actually had to rip back the first time because I did way too much and it was tiny, so I just decreased basically a total of 4 cables, and then when I got to there I just knitted normally until the desired length, and I kind of, at that point I just stopped following the instructions for the sleeves. Like, I think it's gotten to the point now where I'm knitting a jumper, like I'm not, you know, I'll take the stitch counts for the body, but then I just knit the body to whatever I want or whatever I have. And like same with the sleeves, I'll just kind of like pick the decrease rate that I like. Usually the decrease rate that I really like and I use a lot, if it's a similar gauge, is the one from cardigan number 8. I really, really love that one. And so most of the time I will just emulate that. And yeah, so I got to the end, and then at this point I was really worried about yarn chicken, so I did a short little rib, and yeah, I don't usually go for short ribs. I usually go for quite a long rib. I love a long rib. I think it looks super lovely and like dramatic, but this one, I don't know, I wanted something a bit cute. So this is only, I think, like 10 rows of, maybe 10 rows, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, 11 counting the bind off, so I think it's 10 rows. 10 rows of rib plus the Italian bind off. I do Italian, not tubular, because I think my tubular looks really horrible. And yeah, bound off and then did as much as I could the same on the body, but actually let me just try it on. And that will be the simplest, I think. Is that back to front? No. So obviously it looks horrible because it's not blocked, and these sleeves look really skinny. Yeah, I did as much as I could on the body, and I had to harvest yarn from a bunch of different places. So I reused the swatch to 100%. Basically, like, I'd gotten to the point with the yarn that I had. I don't even think I'd started the rib. Like what I'd done is that I'd knit the front and back and then started on the body and then stopped at at this cable, this bottom one here. And had done like maybe like one round before doing the rest of the sleeves because I knew I was running out. So I did both of the sleeves and then came back and I was like, well, I can't start the ribbing here because I'd literally just done a cable and it would have looked really strange. So I did maybe like another 5 rounds before starting the rib, and I don't even think I'd gotten to the rib by the time I'd completely run out of yarn that I had on the cone. And then I used the swatch, started the swatch, and like, this is a lot of stitches. So I maybe only got like halfway into this using the swatch that I had. And then by miracle, I remembered that I'd actually taken some of the yarn from the cone and from the mohair to make a scrunchie, like a knitted scrunchie with a bunch of different colors. And I'd sort of just borrowed that yarn. Hopefully I'll put a picture here of what it looks like. And I'd borrowed that and still had like quite a cute little ball left. So remembered that, went to get it, started doing the rest. And then even then I had to do the bind off like 3 times because I just kept running out. I just kept getting to the end of being like, oh no. And so like I just had to keep frogging back. And it's still like, I think it'll block out, but it's a bit, I think it's fine. It's a bit short for what I like. Usually I don't like a cropped jumper, especially if it's quite boxy, because I feel like it's just not proportionate. If I have a baggy jumper, then I want a baggy jumper that's also long and then I can tuck it in. But I think it's fine. I think it'll do. And the sleeves aren't too short, which is great. In fact, they go over my hands and I haven't even blocked them, which is fine. That's my preference. Yeah, I'm really happy. I am curious to see what it will look like blocked. I have a feeling because it's cables, it's going to block outwards more than it's going to block lengthways. So maybe I can do some manipulation and sort of pin it out. I don't usually pin it out, but unless there's like a fit issue that I want to correct. So yeah, and there we go. And I just keep wearing this. It's not it's not, it's actually quite sunny outside. It's not really the weather for a worsted weight mohair sweater, but I will probably wear this for much of the summer just because it's like, it was like 10 degrees the other day and pissing rain. So yeah, we don't get much of a summer around here. Okay, moving on to things that I'm working on at the moment. I actually don't have a lot because I just casted this off this week, and this was kind of like my main project, and I usually only have one main project, and then like a couple of sort of like satellite projects. But I'm about to cast on another one, which I'll show you the swatch for in a bit. So yeah, so I'm kind of in between, but I do have a couple of like lingering works in progress that I've been working on, and then I do also have one active. I do actually have one active gift knit. So this looks absolutely like nothing, and I'm kind of throwing it all around the place. What is this? You can probably see it a bit better. I'm losing my ball of yarn. This is the beginnings of, or like the midway point of the Olive's wrap by Knitting for Olive. Really cute little baby knit. I love their children's patterns. I haven't really had an occasion to knit for a baby up until recently. I have 2 nephews, but were quite grown up by the time that I started knitting, and they were kind of, my younger nephew is about 2 or 3, so definitely I could probably still knit for him, but like the really kind of like baby newborn stuff, so cute, haven't really had the occasion to knit for. So my sister is giving birth soon with a baby girl, and yeah, so I just got really excited by the fact that I get to knit like really cute little baby things, and hopefully this will, so I'm going to Brussels this coming weekend. She lives in Belgium, for a baby shower, and so I need to get this done by this Friday because that's when I go, and I really want to block it. So this is a baby knit for then, and I don't think she'll watch this video because I doubt I'm gonna reach international success on YouTube by the time that I go to the baby shower on Friday, if I even edit it and post it by that point. So I feel okay talking about that surprise here. So this is Drops Nord. I was trying to use things that I had, so this is like a sock yarn, alpaca wool, nylon, good for a baby knit. I thought, is it superwash? Not sure, but fairly durable. And then I mixed it with, I had a bunch of fingering weight yarns that could work, but I really wanted like a really cute color combination, sort of like a, you know, like a Scandi baby, like dusty blues and roses and, you know, like those kind of colors, like the Knitting for Olive colors basically. So I used the Knitting for Olive merino in fennel seed as the contrast stripe. I had a tiny bit left, and literally last night when I finished the sleeve, or like I think I'm a centimetre away from finishing it, this is all I have left of the ball that I had. Again, it was like leftovers from, I made the Favourite Things Knitwear camisole number 5. Yeah, 5. The one with the sort of really tight across here. Camisole number 5. And I had leftovers from the 3 skeins from that. And I'd also already used it for like an advent calendar that I'd sent to somebody. So I'd removed 10 grams from that. So I maybe had like 25 grams to begin with. Took away 10 grams, had maybe 15 grams. I knew it wasn't going to be enough, and I've already run out, but I have a swatch from that original camisole that I can use, and the stripes, like, they barely take up any yarn, and also I know that my camisole number 5, I never wear it because it has multiple things wrong with it, but B, it's really long. So if I completely run out, then I'll just take some, I'll just like unbind off from the bottom and I'll just take some from there, because this is more important because it's so cute. So yeah, so I have a sleeve. I need to do another sleeve. Hopefully I'll try and finish that tonight. And then I have this monstrosity, rolling monstrosity, which is, because it's a wrap cardigan, it's a like insanely long bit of knitting, with the very cute picot edging, and yeah, again I was looking at the Ravelry projects, and there was a couple of things that were strange. So I saw a lot of people were saying that they were like, oh, it's insane to have this many stitches on the needle when you add the 2 sleeves and then do the decreases because it's bottom up. It's insane to have that many stitches on the needle at one go, but I don't know how else you would do. I haven't knitted that many bottom up raglans, but I don't know how else you would do it. Like, I don't know how else you would do it. So, oh no, I'm dropping stitches. Oh god. Yeah, so I thought that feedback was a bit strange, but I guess, I mean, it is like an insane amount of stitches because it's a wrap. But if you're doing like an adult wrap, like that would be the same. And then another thing that people were like, oh, like there's no instructions for the picot. So the way you do the picot, without revealing too much of the pattern, is how you do the picot in a lot of sort of like fold over methods. So you knit 2 together, yarn over, and then it creates like a bunch of holes in the fabric, and then you kind of like duplicate that and then fold it over and sew it down, knit it down some kind of way. And it doesn't give you any instructions of how to knit it together. I assume they want you to sew it down at the end, but I knew I wouldn't be bothered to do that. So I just did it as I went along. I kind of like eyeballed how many when I was at like the right point. Actually, it's probably more, it's easier to show you here. Eyeballed when I was at the right point, and then I just knit it down together with the live stitches, and just kind of kept carrying on, because that seemed easier, and then I wouldn't have to do anything at the end. I think I went down a needle size because I was big on gauge. I must be a loose knitter because I think I'm usually like a couple of stitches bigger than most stitch. It could be the drop snored. The drop snored is quite, it's like, I feel like it's more of a sport weight. It's quite thick than an actual fingering sock weight. So yeah, so I sized down to a 275 instead of the 3 millimeters that are called for, and I am knitting on metal, both metal and wooden needles. I mean, I know that people say that like the gauge changes if you knit on the different types, but I know it's a baby knit, I don't really care. And I didn't want to like take everything off of these needles to then knit the sleeves separately, so I just did it on the other 2.75s that I had. So yeah, so I think my gauge is probably a bit big. I was really worried when I was knitting this, like the first couple of rows, that it was way too long. I'm knitting the 6-month size because the baby will be born in July. So by at 6 months, it'll be like in the winter time, which is a good time to wear a wool cardigan. And also like, I think knitting for complete newborns, like they grow out of it really quickly. So hopefully they'll get a bit more time out of the 6-month size. But yeah, so I thought it was way too big. And then I was like, I don't actually know how big babies are. So I have no idea. But also you've got to imagine that like you fold it over because it's a wrap. I don't know. Does that look too big? That's my head. Does that look too big? I don't know. I should probably compare the measurements. That would be a good idea. But it's a baby knit. If it's too big, it's too big. No big deal there. Okay, so that is that for the olive wrap. Then I have a couple of like hibernating. I mean, I have other works in progress that I'm kind of just sitting, like a lot of things for the winter that I probably won't touch now. I always have like a pair of socks on the go. I keep this one in the car, it's just in the glove box for when we go out, just to get a couple of rows in. This is actually one whole finished sock. All of my socks are usually just super boring. Either they're completely plain vanilla. I mostly use I just kind of cast on for 60 stitches now. I use the Everyday Sock by Petite Knit. That's kind of the one I learned to knit on. Or occasionally I'll kind of spice it up and I'll do like a 3x1 rib or something like that, 2x2 rib, depending on the yarn. But most of the time, like, I'm really excited by the yarn, and I don't love like a lot of like crazy stitch patterns or anything in a sock. Like I admire them, they look really good on other people, but I don't think I'd wear them. So mostly I do a stockinette sock, and I just find that it's really good for traveling. If you want something to knit on but you don't want to take a lot of stuff, you can literally just bring one ball, it's a 100-gram ball, and then one pair of needles. And like, if it's fingering weight socks, then most trips that I go on, I won't have finished it by the time I get back. So yeah, that's why I find them really handy. Do I wear knitted socks that much? Not really. They're nice to have. And in the winter, I love wearing DK socks with mohair, like there's a name for that pattern. I think it's called like the luxury sock or something. And I have a couple of pairs of those. And they're really lovely in some some clog Birkenstocks in the winter to keep your feet really, really warm. But most of the time I don't actually wear knitted socks that often. But anyway, but yeah, the yarn itself, this is Regia. I really like Regia sock yarns. And this one particularly, this has got to be like the best fitting sock I've ever made. And I didn't even really do anything different. So like the stitch count is the same. Yeah, this fits so well for some reason. And I think it's something to do with the yarn. Like it's quite rustic, but it's like still quite plump. It's like a normal Regia 75-25, I think. Yeah, I just really love the feeling of this one. And the colorway is gorgeous. Like I found this in a knitting shop in, what's it called, a yarn store? A knitting shop in Madrid when I was there to visit a friend that lives there. The shop is called Miss Kits, and they had like a really beautiful selection of sock yarns. Loads of hand dyed, but they also had loads of Regia, and I just really love the Regia, so I picked this one up. And the ball band itself, I don't have it here, the ball band itself it's just like color numbers, but then I looked this up on Ravelry, and I think it's called like Flower Power, and this is so either the collection is called Flower Power and then the specific color name is something else, or the color name is Flower Power, and then I think the collection is Flower Power, and then the color name is like, I don't know, something adorable in like 60s, like Woodstock or whatever. And it was cute because I knitted this when I went to San Francisco for work, so it felt like kind of appropriate. And it's this really beautiful like slate grey, blue, dove blue base with all of these multicolored speckles. Or not even speckles, like if you look at the string of it itself, like it's just kind of like self-striping. No, that's not how you'd say that. Like it's variegated, but with really short strips of color. So in the sock, it almost looks like every stitch is like a different color. And yeah, I just think it's really interesting to look at. I also really love like the length of the cut. I don't know, this sock is great. I love it. I'll finish that soon, probably, maybe, I don't know. It's summer now, so it's not like it needs to get done. And then another thing that I was working on, I took as another project when I was away in the States, was like kind of like I knew it was going to be like a long-term project because it's fingering weight. I'm back. I took my jumper off because I was a bit warm. I had some water. Yeah, I was really nervous to start, but apparently if you just get me talking about wool for like 5 minutes, then I just don't stop, and I talk for like, I don't know how much footage I have, maybe like 40 minutes, an insane amount of time, so that's good to know. Where was I? I was talking about this, which I haven't said what it was yet, but I was talking about making the Jenny sweater, and how I think I cut off at that point that I was making the Jenny sweater, and that was like a DK, so like a fingering and a mohair, and it was so long term that it took me like a year to finish it. I think I cast it on in February and I cast it off in like January of the following year. And I only sort of picked it up sparingly here and there, sort of like in between projects. And it's a psychological thing, because I think if I just knit through it the same way as like anything else, then I'd get through it quite quickly. But yeah, I just don't find it as rewarding. So yeah, so this is kind of a long-term project. It's like not even 10 centimeters of stockinette right now, but this is supposed to be the Oslo? Is it the Oslo or is it the Stockholm? One of the petite knit sweaters that are really plain, and have like is it like a 24 stitch gauge or something like that. They're meant to be knit on a DK, and this is a fingering weight, but it's a really like, it's a heavy fingering, and I knit it on the 3.5 mil needles, I believe. So I sized down. Again, I believe this is all from memory. I haven't picked this up in a while. I knit this on the plane back from New York, and it was yeah, just really relaxing. Like, it's back and forth stockinette. So this is the back panel, and the way you knit the Oslo or the Stockholm or whatever it is. And I'm being really careful because like I've taken the needles off and it's just gonna pop off. Yeah, and the way you knit it is that you just sort of like knit the back panel straight, and then I think you shape the shoulders. It's a saddle shoulder, I think, or maybe contiguous raglan. You shape the shoulders in the front. So really this is literally just back and forth stockinette. And I'm lucky because I've noticed that like recently I have really bad rowing out issues, and it's not something I've always had because I used to have like really neat stockinette. And you can actually see like on my Audrey top, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see that everywhere that's back and forth. And it's all right because there's quite a loose gauge, but I can see the striping. Thankfully, I think on this yarn, maybe because of the composition, it hasn't been that bad. And I don't know why it's gotten worse with time. I never used to have this problem, but I've noticed it in the past like 6 months or so. Maybe like, I think it's something to do with my pearls. Maybe I'm knitting them tighter or looser, maybe tighter than my knits. But I need to like sit down and figure it out and like go up a needle size or go down a needle size on one row and then like try and figure out what makes it better, because it's really annoying and it's really obvious in that one jumper that I have. So I'd like to stop that from happening. If you have any tips, I think it is just like a question of just like testing it out and trying to get rid of it. But yeah, anyway, so this is the Oslo or the Stockholm, or it's one of those sweaters that I'll put up on the screen here. And I am knitting this with the Zakami yarns. I have a full skein here. Zakami yarns, hand-dyed in Edinburgh. I think this is called like the natural fluff fingering. It doesn't actually say on the ball band, but I think on their website it's called the natural fluff fingering. And it's a bit, I saw this, so basically Knitting Traditions knit something with this a really long time ago, and I like hyper fixated on it, and I was like, I love this, like I love the colors. And they're really beautiful. Like this is like the first hand-dyed yarn I ever got. I got it for Christmas. And yeah, the composition is 38% baby alpaca, 37% Pima cotton, which I think is the core, and then 25% merino. So essentially alpaca and merino blown into a fluff. It's really sticky, like it really sticks to itself. It's kind of annoying to cake up, because it really gets stuck to itself when you're doing it around the Swift. But yeah, it's sort of like super fluffy around a cotton core, like beautifully soft, no itch, really gorgeous, but maybe not what I would have gone for in retrospect. I think I just like really fell in love with Knitting Traditions version, and I was like, I need that, and then I didn't really think too much about it, but it was quite expensive as as hand-dyed projects are. It was really expensive. I was saying like wouldn't necessarily have been my choice of fiber today. I think it's gonna pill, and I think like it's not gonna wear great because of the cotton and just the way the fluff is. Like I feel like because of the alpaca it's just gonna get quite thin. Like it has all of this beautiful fluff today, but like I think with wear it'll probably just sort of thin out and become quite transparent, and all you'll see is the cotton. But I don't know, because I haven't worn it, and actually there aren't that many things on Ravelry that I've seen knit with this specific base, so yeah, could last beautifully. But in skein form it's gorgeous. The colour is Boomy, which I hope is a reference to King Boomy from Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I have a dog named after somebody from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that would be really cute. But I think it just means Earth, and he's an Earthbender, so it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if it's related or not. But yeah, I named my dog Zuko after Zuko from Avatar, so it felt meant to be. And yes, I am alternating skeins. One of them is a lot darker than the others, so I'm alternating I think I lost the habit of it when I was flying, and I think this bit is maybe just one solid bit, but I'll get back into it. It's not so bad that that I think I'll be a problem if I kind of forget to do it. But yeah, I remember this skein has a lot of that like purple blue in it, so yeah, that might be an issue. Yeah, and when will I pick this back up? I don't know, probably not anytime soon. Oh yeah, and then so I wanted just something really plain to sort of show off the yarn, and I also kind of struggled to find something in that stitch gauge that I liked. But I think what I might end up doing is, instead of doing the crew neck, I might kind of make it a bit like a cumulus blouse O-neck, and just do a, if the neck is open enough. I can't remember what size I made, but I think it's quite a big size because I wanted loads of positive ease, because that's what I love. If the neck is big enough, I might just do an I-cord. Because I think I own quite a lot of crew neck sweaters, and I think doing the I-cord will make it a bit more like cute, whimsical, sophisticated, less like casual, which I think will sort of elevate the yarn choice. So yeah, so not mega excited about this, but it's working. Okay, I should probably hurry up because I don't know how long I've been recording and I don't want the battery to die again. I don't think I even said why I had to stop recording, but my battery died. Yeah, I'm going to show you some bits that I picked up in Stockholm. I went to, it was my first time in a Scandinavian country since I've been knitting, or no, like ever. So I was really excited. I went to, the only shop I ended up going to in the end, because we were kind of strapped for time, was one called Lettlopi. Butchered that, definitely. But it was lovely. It was really nice. And it was an adorable shop. They had like everything, all the Scandinavian yarns. They had, what did they have? They had Rauma, they had Sandnes Garn, they had Istex, Filkalana. The really exciting thing that they had, or at least it wasn't exciting to me at the time, but now it is they had something called Kampes. So the Kampes is the supplier or the mill, and this is the cardigan ullgarn, which I think just means 2-ply wool yarn. And it was really weird. So the way, sorry for the crinkles. Okay, the way it was presented in the shop was literally just like this, and it had no ball band, and then just like a small tag on it that says the color name. So this is mellangrå, I don't know. It's with like mid-grey, I think. And yeah, it was just presented just in skein form like this, and I was like, to the lady, I was like, excuse me, what is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. But it's so squishy. And she was like, oh yeah, this is Kampes, and it's intended for weaving, she told me. And it's New Zealand wool that's then milled and spun in Sweden. And oh my god, like I cannot describe to you how obsessed I am with this yarn. There's something about it, like it's so squishy, and like the 2-plyness of it, so this is it caked up, the 2-ply of it is like just like really plump, and like the twist is really beautiful, and oh my god, the smell, like it smells so sheepy. And like I'm sure they'll, I mean, I don't know, have they done studies? Is there something about like a sheepy wool that is like has addictive properties? Because like I can't walk past this in my house without, it's so good, it's so good, oh my god. So yeah, I'm just obsessed with this. I think this might be like my yarn. Like the one. The color's gorgeous. It's really, really heathered, without being didn't like too variegated or anything like that. It has like a slight warmth to the grey. It's just stunning. So I bought 3 of these. She said it's 100 grams skein, 300 meters. It's a sport weight. And my plan for this, I have a swatch somewhere. My plan for this is to hold it, this is the swatch, which I've blocked. Swatched and blocked, look at me. My plan for this is to hold it with, so the bottom one is another woolly knit colour, in a darker grey that I think it's too variegated. But I'm going to hold it with, I have it here somewhere. I'm going to hold it with the Drops Flora in the mid grey colour. Hang on, has the colour here. 03. I think it's just like natural grey or something. But I've actually wanted to use this for a garment again, because I used it for the sweater number 14 V-neck ages ago, held with 2 strands of mohair, with, actually I have it here, with the Moonshine Drops mohair and then the natural 01 white mohair. And that's beautiful. And just this, I've also, that I had loads of skeins left over and I've used it for a couple of baby knits. And there's something about this colour that's like really warm and really heathered, and I just like, I'm drawn to it. So I think the 2 of these together, I thought about adding in the mohair, the Moonshine, because I have 1 skein, I could get some more, but I think it would be a lovely match. But I actually think that I don't want to take away from this because I love it so much. So I'm just going to mix it with the Flora. And I think if you then compare like the skein with the swatch, then yeah, I don't think it's like it takes away at all from the colour, whilst making it like an acceptable weight, and it blooms beautifully. So for being a sport weight plus a fingering, you'd expect like maybe like a worsted, but I think it knits up as like a full Aran. And I think I did this to memory, whatever the gauge is, whatever the needle is on the cardigan number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. I'm hearing myself and I'm like, oh my god, all I knit is My Favourite Things Knitwear and petite knit. But it's not always like that, I promise. But yeah, the My Favourite Things Knitwear cardigan number 9. I know that Handmade by Florence recently made one in like a very similar colour, and basically I just want that. I think like it's something I've been needing, something I've been needing in my wardrobe for a while. It's just like a really plain grey cardigan, and I wear my sweater number 14 V-neck all the time, because I love the grey of it, and I think it'll just go with so many things. And I just love this. I need more of it, so much so that I made another order the other day. I dusted off my ChatGPT translation and I scoured the internet for like a Swedish shop that would deliver internationally. They're really few and far between, the ones that sell Kampes anyway. Most of them said that they used to send internationally, but they don't do it anymore because of like too many hassles, and I don't blame them. But I found one website that sells Kampes that will send it to me. And I got 3 colours because I'm so obsessed with it. I got, well, if I ever make another one of these, I'll show you next time. So yeah, so that is plan number 1. Other things that I picked up in Sweden that I don't have a plan for immediately, but I'll show you anyway. Of course, I put everything in plastic bags because I'm terrified of moths. So, first of all, got 2 skeins of Lettlopi that I found in a craft store that wasn't actually a yarn store. This is the colour 1702, which I think is, I looked it up on Ravelry, I think it's called like Blue Haze or something really gorgeous. Anyway, it was quite a nice colour. This is super rustic. I think I'll probably use it for like maybe a hot water bottle cover or something like that. Like I won't wear it as a garment, and I only have 2 skeins anyway. It is 100 meters, 100% wool. So I got 2 of those, and then back in the litet nightstand I picked up some Rauma Finull. Don't know how to say it, because I am nothing if not influenced by knitfluencers and knitting traditions being the main one. So yeah, I know she loves Rauma Finull, so I had to pick some up. I picked this really punchy purple. It's like I think it's called like violet or iris or something like that. The color number is 4088, and it's 100% Norwegian wool, 175 meters. This is also beautiful, and I like it too. I just don't like it as much as the Kampes. It's quite rustic, but it's not anything that scares me. This is also a sport weight, 175. Yeah, so about, it's like a light sport. And I have 6 of these, 175. Do I have 6? No, maybe only 4. I think I have about 600 meters, which I don't know what I'll make with, but it seemed like a good amount for not a full garment, but maybe something like a slip over, or a really fancy hat, or I don't know, I'll find a use for this. I just really like the colour. I've been buying a lot of purple yarns recently because I'm in like my regain the 90s colour, you know, like bring it back to life. It was cringe for so long, but now purple is back. And you know, we're not in our like purple bedroom era. Did you all have purple bedrooms as well? Yeah. So yeah, this colour is really sweet. I was thinking maybe like a Sanna cardigan short sleeved, but I don't know how much I would wear that, because it seems a bit girly for my taste. But yeah, anyway, that was pickup number 2. Last one is a bag of, apologies, Tynn Gynt, which, to be honest, until I went to the shop I didn't know that they did. I knew they did Gynt, and I knew that they did like Sunday, double Sunday, all of those. But yeah, this fingering weight is great, and I've wanted to try Gynt for a really long time. And I've also wanted like a really bright orange jumper for a really long time. And I have a sweater number 14 regular in a bright cobalt blue. And I really love, and I also have that v-neck sweater number 14 v-neck, and I really love like mixing the 2 lace weights plus a fingering and like that really airy fabric on 6mm, or yeah, 6mm needles. Like I love the way that feels, and I think it's like really useful. I wear my blue one all the time, so I'd love to make another one like that, just maybe not with the 2x2 rib, because I don't love 2x2 rib. And I'll need, but like I'm really picky about the color orange. This is the, I mean, it's the color 3819, which means nothing. I think they call it like spicy orange, or in other places I've seen it called that orange feeling, like the petite knit color. And I compared them in the shop. I was able to see sort of the 2 of them side by side, and they were practically identical. So even if that isn't that orange feeling color, it's very, very similar. And I liked that it was a fingering weight, and the Gynt is cheaper than a lot of the other yarns that they do. So this was like 48 kroner, so about €4.20 a ball. And where is the meterage? 205 meters. I have 5 of them, so about 1,000 meters. You add the 2 mohairs with that, I think that would be fine. I'm forever playing yarn chicken anyway, so why change? But yeah, I don't have the other mohairs, or I don't have the other strands. I was thinking also I could do another strand of fingering and then maybe a strand of, but I just quite like mixing yarns like that. It's more expensive, but I think you get like a really sort of heathered kind of variegated color when you do that. So and you get like a more custom color than just something straight out of like a, and I love that I've got it here also in a plastic bag. This is Knitting for Olive Hokkaido, and I love that color, and I'd love to mix it with something a bit warmer whilst also keeping the brightness. Anyway, we'll see. That's something for the future. Final thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is probably my next cast on, which you're not going to be able to see against anything really. No, it's probably really awkward. Probably my next cast on is a swatch for the Sanna cardigan, which I bought. I have the pattern for. I applied to be a tester. I didn't get it. I never get any tests. And I got the discount code that she usually gives out when you apply to be a tester, and it was like the weekend of the release, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make this. I can't really like figure out how to make it work with my style. Like, I think that kind of really obvious lace on like a bright color in a short sleeve on a summer garment feels a bit too, maybe just a bit too feminine for me. Like, I like things to have like an edge, or either to be like completely like ethereal, you know, like dreamy mohair, blah 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 blah, or to go the other direction and be quite like boyish. And I just couldn't figure out how to make it work for me, even if I was going to test for it. And then I had an idea that I'd written down in like one of my various planning spreadsheets for yarn, that it was like, make a black lace cardigan like Simone Rocha. Inspiration pictures here, hopefully. I have seen these Simone Rocha cardigans sort of floating, or like sweaters floating around. I really, really love them. Can't afford them at all. So I think that like a really nice way to kind of get the interest out of making this pattern and working up all of the really fun lace, and B, not paying like 500-600 euro for a cardigan, and also having that, you know, that IKEA effect of like you made it yourself, so you wear it a lot more. I think combining both of those things and then making a sort of Simone Rocha dupe out of the Sanna cardigan was my plan. The only thing is that I think like you lose a lot of the detail of the lace. So this is a strand of woolly knit, aforementioned strand of woolly knit. These are all the wools. I have used their merino before. This one's a bit more rustic. It's their British wool 4-ply. This is just the black colour. And I have a bunch of these cones that I ordered a while back, and I'm trying to get through them as much as possible. And I just like this black one. So useful for like a bunch of different things. But yeah, a strand of this, fingering away, plus a strand of mohair. Black drops kid silk. And so the problem is that you do kind of lose the lace a little bit, but I still think it's really beautiful. And I think once I sort of like add the styling elements from the Simone Rocha cardigan, I think it will be everything that I want it to be. I would love to add just some like thin velvet ribbons, kind of like the inspo pictures. And then maybe some beading. I have some kind of like those like crystal, I think they're just plastic, but crystal like cut glass kind of beading that's very Simone Rocha. I bought some of those years ago to make some earrings or something, and I have some of those in black that I could kind of sew on and create that very Simone Rocha detailing on it, and I think that would look really cute and elevated. Another thing I'd love to do with it is, I don't know how I'm going to do it, although I was thinking about it earlier and I think I figured it out. I'd love to do that scalloped hem that is on this cardigan, but in rib, and the Sanna is bottom up. So at first I was like, oh, I could do it in short rows on a 1x1 rib, which I've never done, and then I'd have to do a 1x1 cast on, like a tubular cast on, for the rib as well. Like, I wouldn't have to, but it would look nicer, especially if you're doing the that you're making a feature of the ribbing, so you want like a kind of like nice cast on. And then I was like, that's a lot of things to do just as you cast on, and I was really hoping to get it cast on when I go to Brussels this weekend once I finish the other baby cardigan. I could work it on the plane, and then, you know, I'd have something super engaging, and that would be so great. But I think starting off with scalloped 1x1 rib with short rows and a tubular cast on is a bit ambitious, even for me, to do on a plane with no internet. So yeah, I won't do that. I think what I will do is that I will cast on a provisional cast on, and then just do the lace, start straight with the lace, and then come back, pick up those provisional stitches, and then go down, knit down. And then that also means that if I want to like fiddle with the length, then I can do so with the rib. I can do like a really long rib or shorten the rib or do something. And I don't have to worry about the length being awkward, because I think it will be important for a cardigan like this, the length. Usually I don't mind on like a sweater, but on a cardigan it's more important. Certainly one that the way that I want to wear it. Anyway, that was all of my projects. There's a lot here. I'm looking at my floor. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's everything I bought recently. That's everything I made recently. That's everything that I want to make. And I'm gonna stop playing with that. Yeah, and if you're still here for some unknown reason, I'd love to tell you a bit about myself. I realised I don't think I said my name, so maybe I should start off with that. My name is Nadia. Hi. I am a knitter, a person, a maker, I'm someone based in Ireland. I'm sure you can hear the twang, although I find it really cringy to listen back to because it's not natural. It's affected from living in Ireland. I didn't grow up here. I moved here in 2013, a good 11 years ago now. I moved to Ireland for college, and yeah, I've been living here for 11 years now. Moved for college, lived in Dublin for a long while, started working in Dublin, met my partner, fiance, husband to be, whatever, gross, ugh, cringe. And I then moved to Kildare with him. We bought a house 2 years ago now. We're coming up to 2 years ago now. And we live in Kildare with our two dogs, two Samoyeds. They're crazy. And in this like big plot of land, kind of crazy. Like, I never imagined I would live somewhere so remote and so rural. I really thought I was a city girl, but I don't know, living in Dublin during the pandemic would kind of change my mind on that. And yeah, so we live out here. I moved to Ireland from France originally, so my dad is French, and I grew up in the south of France in a place called Nice, if you've heard of it. Not everyone's heard of it. And I didn't actually live in Nice. I lived like sort of further out, up in the mountains in a place called Châteauneuf-de-Grasse, if you're interested. But yeah, it's super remote. And usually nobody's heard of Châteauneuf, but everyone's heard of Nice, so you can say that. Yeah, and so I grew up in France, but then my mum is British. She's actually British-Irish, so my granddad is Irish, but she's British, and she currently lives in Oxford, in the UK, and so does two of my sisters, and then I have another sister in Belgium, and my dad's still in France, so it's a bit crazy, although I'm sure not that uncommon. And yeah, that's how I ended up here. I do a lot of knitting. I also do quite a bit of sewing, or I did. Currently, we've been doing a lot of work on the house, and I don't currently have like a space set up for that. If I am doing any sewing, I'm doing it like on the dining room table, and then, you know, you have everything out, and then your sewing machine's in the way, and it's just kind of annoying. So I haven't been doing a lot of that recently, but I would love to get back into it. And I think I'm like quite proficient sewer. I think maybe I'm a better seamstress than I am a knitter. I don't know. But that was my pandemic hobby, and then 2 years into the pandemic I picked up knitting. What else? I work full-time in tech, and it's something. It's not great, but it's something. It's one of the few things I think that you can do in Ireland that makes a decent living, because the cost of living crisis is insane here. And yeah, it's a bit soulless, but it is what it is. I'm also very lucky to work from home, so I get to do a lot of knitting in my breaks and hang out with my dogs. So yeah, that is what I do for work. And then I don't know, I have this trip in Brussels planned coming up. I have another one again, so I'm going for a baby shower, and then in a month I'm actually bringing my mum to a Pink concert, which I think will be really fun. But it's supposed to be the due date of my sister, and coincidentally we're going to be in that city at the same time, so it's a bit awkward. Like, I don't want to like impose on her and make her host us. But yeah, I'm hoping to visit some yarn stores and some places to thrift whilst I'm there. And yeah, if I make another video, if I have the courage to post this, if this recording pans out, so many ifs, I would love to come back and talk some more about my knitting next time. And yeah, hopefully get a bit of like dialogue going. Clearly I've had a lot of pent up information that I wanted to divulge, because I don't know how long I've been doing this now, but it's been a while. So yeah, if 5 people watch this video, then maybe I'll make another. I think everyone and their auntie has a knitting podcast now, so I don't expect it to skyrocket, but you never know. And I guess I'm not really doing it for the fame and the glamour and the sponsored posts, but more for just getting this stuff off my chest and having someone to talk to about it. So yeah. If you are watching, if you're still here, oh my god, thank you so much. That's insane. That's so much talking that even I don't want to listen back to. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope you come back again. I hope you liked it. Tell me what I can do better. We love feedback. Feedback is fuel. Tell me what I can do better, and tell me what you'd like to see. And tell me what you're knitting on if you would like to share. I'd love to see. I just love to see people knitting. It's so cool that like so many people do it now. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go and drink some water and try and decompress from the stressful experience that is filming a knitting podcast for the first time. And yeah, see you soon, hopefully. Bye.